Hello and welcome to today's panel discussion, Accelerating Mainframe Modernization with a Data-First Approach. I'm Derek Marinos, your host and moderator for today's conversation. Modernizing legacy mainframes is no longer optional, it's a strategic imperative. These systems have powered enterprises for decades with unmatched reliability and security. But today's digital landscape demands more speed, agility, and innovation. A data-first approach is changing the game. By unlocking the value trapped in legacy systems, organizations are enabling real-time insights, intelligent automation, and smarter, faster transformation with less risk. Today, I'm joined by three experts who have led complex modernization efforts in the financial sector. We'll explore what's working, what challenges remain, and how a data-first mindset can accelerate progress and impact. Let's meet the panel. Gentlemen, introduce yourselves, please. David, go ahead.
Okay, I'll start. Thank you, Derek. Appreciate the opportunity to speak to you today. I'm David Hooper. I'm a vice president in our Toronto financial services area, and I lead quite a number of engagements and initiatives in the banking, particularly in the payment space. So we've got lots of experience dealing with legacy systems, applications, and mainframes.
Deepak.
Hey everyone, hey Derek. I'm Deepak Jain, and I'm the mainframe modernization expert in CGI, a director emerging technologies. Born and brought up in mainframes, passionate about mainframe modernization, data, and the customer experience. Happy to
Excellent. And Krishna.
Thank you, Derek. Good afternoon, everyone. This is KK. I've been with CGI for 22 years, but started my career as a mainframe developer and managed multiple mainframe environments for clients across the insurance industry, and also helped them transform from mainframe and move into more modern cloud platforms and get rid of mainframe as well for them. Happy to join.
Excellent. Welcome to you all. David, I'd like to begin with you first. And what are the clearest signs that legacy systems are limiting organizations, especially when it comes to data accessibility and speed?
Yeah, great question. Let's just set the frame for it. We talk about mainframes quite a bit, and of course we'll use the term legacy interchangeably. But most of the time, we're not talking about the mainframe box itself. It's the applications that are on it. And those are the legacy applications we're dealing with. And I would say there's a number of indicators out in the market that we've seen that are really showing, as you described, that they're hindering our client base, be it banks, insurance companies, what have you. And I think the one that probably stands out the most to me, actually it's two, it's inhibiting their ability to bring new products and services to market, which of course drives everyone into modernization mode. And then modernization itself covers a huge span of potential activities. And I think the one we're all most interested in and think we've got a unique approach to is about data, right? Because mainframes gather and create a lot of data, but it's how do you use them or how do you make use of that data with all of the modern tools that are appearing in the analytics space and in the AI space to then update and change and modernize your existing products and services and create new ones. So to me, it's really that it's hindering the ability to use the existing data.
Yeah, that's interesting because it's also driving urgency too in many ways. And KK, I'll come to you with this question. With respect to urgency, I mean, what's driving it really? Is it data bottlenecks? Is it regulatory pressure, customer demand, operational cost, or a combination of all of these?
Thank you, Derek. It's more often a convergence of many of these factors than a single underlying root cause that they're trying to solve here. So it could be data bottlenecks that's impacting, the data accessibility and real-time data access that they want the business teams to report quick updates here, or could be the operational cost of managing a mainframe environment compared to other cloud and other operating systems that you can host these business applications on. Operating cost definitely is a factor, and regulatory pressure is another one where, the financial institutions, especially in this case, for example, in Canada, OSFI requirements are something that every bank and insurer has to comply with. And this is something that is better served if you have quicker access to data and timely reporting here.
Yeah, and Deepak, inaction can feel like the safer path for many, but what's at risk when organizations or institutions can't access or act on their data in real time?
Yeah. So see, when we talk about data, right, what I call is the data is the most valued commodity in today's world, right? If we don't have the data in a real-time fashion, we are losing the business insight from the core systems, right? So I will talk two things here. One is the losing the business insights from the core system. That means the business units now operating on the outdated views. And think about it: if we are outdated on the business, on the data perspective, we are not serving our customers in a real manner, right? And the second one is the inefficient integration and duplication. Now, we have the data available in silos in mainframes. Now, multiple teams they are replicating these data here and there during that using the ETL processes, and it's so much cumbersome that it's of no use then. So I will end this on this particular question is the mainframe data is in the past. It's the foundation of the present operations, right? But if it is not available in real time, it's a critical blind spot.
That's that's interesting perspective there. And when it comes to trying to get on the path here, there are some elements of resistance I think we want to explore here, because even with clear signals, many institutions they hold back. David, I would like your perspective on what is driving the resistance to mainframe modernization.
There's a number of things. I mean, a good solid handful of items that sort of cause, or probably more accurately, amplify the resistance. There's always the realm of, oh, we've tried this before, but most times it was further back. Technology hadn't caught up, or shortcuts were taken, what have you. Another thing that it goes wrong if you don't do the complete and proper assessment. I think a lot of the times we're rushing to get to action, and we don't want to take the time to do a proper assessment. Where am I today? How many mainframes have I got? How many applications? Which one of these, are there some that are falling down, or others impacting my ability to innovate or get to the data? And you've got to prioritize what activities to take place, but you need that holistic view of your existing environment. And so often we pick one aspect of it and we go down a road, and it may or may not work, but then it improves a small portion of the things that KK and Deepak have mentioned. I mean, you really have to have a complete view to create a proper strategy and then execute on it. And it'll be phases. I mean, you can't do all things at the same time. The other thing I think is just the simple one. It's the fear of failing, right? As you said, I'd rather not do anything than try something and have it fail. So we fall into that sort of protectionist kind of viewpoint of, I'll save my bacon by not actually trying anything too risky. And of course, with any modernization, be it in payments or mainframe, what have you, we're always risk averse. And the last thing we want is a system to fall down or an application to fall down and negatively impact the customers and get our names and our brands splashed across the front of a newspaper.
I think that's a great overview and a really nice big picture look at it. Deepak, maybe we could look at drill down a little bit on this, and maybe could the challenge be more about culture, technical complexity? I think, like David was alluding to, fear of disruption of mission critical data systems. I think it's probably a case of all of the above, right?
Absolutely. And that's a great question, right? And everybody needs to think about these three things, right? Culture, technical complexity, and the fear of disruption. I would start with the culture, right? Absolutely, yes. There is a often hesitation from the leadership point of view that, yes, if something is working fine, why should I change it, right? Then drills down onto the complexity, on the technical complexity side, right? We have COBOL, we have natural database, and all those other legacy code, which nobody knows how it is working. Yeah, but it is working now, right? And then when we thought about fear of downtime, everybody says, no, don't want to touch it. But again, if we are not touching it today, we are losing the opportunity and the customer experience tomorrow, right? Because think about it, everybody has learned about Netflix versus Blockbuster case, right? It's all about data, right? Blockbusters has those on CDs, Netflix has everything on stream online, right? So
Yeah.
it's all about data. It's all about innovation and when you start.
No, that's some good perspective over there. And that leads me now, KK, to my next question, because mindset is really important. So what kind of mindset shift needs to happen, especially at the leadership level? Because, David and Deepak have really alluded to perhaps, maybe some reflections at the top need to happen. So I'm going to ask you essentially what mindset shift needs to happen to embrace data as a strategic asset and not just an IT concern.
Thanks, Derek. Yeah. So one thing from a business leadership perspective, we need to see data really as a business enabler than just as a backend, function of displaying the data just for the sake of a business functionality, right? It's an enabler that can drive you insights and take us to the next level in our product marketing versus the customer servicing, all of these ones. So that is the first mindset that we should look at getting into. Second, again, you treat data like a product, right? This is beyond, there has to be a data quality and a governance that is all needed. So the entire underlying foundational principles of having a solid AI solution is ultimately data governance and data quality. So this is a first step towards moving our organizations closer to transforming the relationships with our customers and even internal stakeholders, right? So from that perspective, data is something that has to be treated like a product and have that as a business enabler here.
Interesting, business enabler. I think that's really important. And David, I'll ask you to follow up quickly on that point.
Yeah, actually, it was something that Deepak said. As we start to look at the culture and you look at what are the impacts of recognizing what's in front of you, prioritizing it all, the inactivity actually continues to add to your technical debt. So as much as you are not spending the money on an initiative, which you should be able to recognize that there's some benefit and value, but often when we talk about core systems, it doesn't necessarily bring cost reductions. It should, but it doesn't drive revenues. And if you're putting that type of fix the core, broad quotes, project up against direct cost savings and direct revenue generators, we tend to lose those sort of conversations, and this just gets kicked down the road, right? Put it off for another time. So we've got to really, as we said, as part of the broader assessment, is what's the value coming from it? And KK's spot on, and Deepak as well. When we talk about the data, that's where the value is. But it comes down to those product owners taking it beyond a commodity approach and beginning to look at what's the value, where will I use it? And when we talk about business intelligence and making decisions, or when we talk about the marketing in particular to our customer base and the services we're rendering, that's where you start to tie in what's the value. And I think another trend that's been part of this is not so much counting the dollars of cost saving. You start to look at, how do I quantify value in loyalty and in customer experience? 10 years ago, we didn't talk about the value of a customer experience. We knew enough that it was cheaper to maintain a customer than to acquire a new one. But you've got to look at that value in customer experience. You can't improve a lot of those without that data.
That's an interesting perspective, and it seemed, and I love the term technical debt. And I think we'll explore it now, how we can get on a path and on a road to unlocking value, and looking at try to de-risk the journey, because a lot of organizations need to embark on a path, but it's still a little bit dark. So Deepak, I'll come to you with this one here. Let's take a closer look at the journey and how organizations and how they can begin modernization by first unlocking and leveraging their existing data assets.
Absolutely. And I can give you an example, right? We have a customer where they have the data in natural database, right? They have the data in RMS files, and they want to see the data, right? It was almost impossible to have these data visualization tool, right? Multiple tools available in the market, which can tie back to their mainframe arena or mainframe infrastructure. But once we moved out the data itself onto the newer environment, it can be on-prem or it can be on your cloud environment, all these tools works perfectly fine. And then when they see the data in a different manner, they were amazed. And they were kind of like surprised as well that so much amount of data was there and so much customer insight was available in the data, which they were not able to understand because it was in files, it was on the mainframe side, right? So use of the analytics platforms, you can view your data in a different manner. And not only that, once you have the data available in a different manner other than the mainframes or the file system, you can start modernizing your applications as well. That means you start on the pilot projects. So it's a total risk-free customer experience. Risk, like everything is good once you have the data available.
Okay, fair enough. So, KK, will the mainframe modernization project be as a phased endeavor or a big bang approach? I mean,
Definitely, it depends on the scale of the modernization program. If you're looking at a smaller, less complex environment, you can try a big bang approach, but we generally recommend a phased approach to mitigate the risk as well as, it gives you the ability to scale up as you move from a proof of concept to a proof of value and eventually into a pilot and finally get into a phased implementation. So that is a successful approach that we have seen in all our previous engagements.
and David, would it be possible to decommission mainframes, or will it end up being a hybrid model?
Well, it's always possible. I mean, joking aside, it absolutely will happen for some companies. I think what we've learned over the last number of years is that every company has a different journey because they all have a different starting point. And for some of them, they will be able to maybe right size their mainframes, downsize, lower some costs, but the mainframe continues because they are extremely efficient at what they do. For others who are absolutely strategically heading to the cloud and when want off of those mainframes, then the key is to focus on the applications, and you can move some of them as is. Others you will rewrite and modernize. So you will see some that will move off of mainframes, others that will downsize their mainframes, and for others, they'll live in that hybrid world for quite a while. So it's hard to give a definitive, it is one or another. It's any combination. But you have to find out what's right for your organization based on your business objectives and where you are today.
And again, it comes from an assessment. Deepak, just to follow up on that.
Yeah. So again, totally agree with David and KK on this, right? And what I call it as a weighing scale, right? So you have mainframes at the top and cloud or on-prem as down, right? Now, as and when we move the systems or the applications, your mainframe MIPS consumption goes down and your cloud goes up, right? Or the on-prem goes up. So that's the risk-free approach, and you can see the value upfront, right? That yes, we are on the hybrid model for quite some time, but there will be down the line that yes, we are out of mainframes, or there will be certain applications running on the mainframes. That's fine. But still, you can view your data, you can have your applications as a microservices on your cloud or on the distributed applications. So totally agree with you, David and KK.
Yeah. So Deepak and KK, I'd like to get both of your perspectives on this next question. And KK, let's start with you. Can you share a real world example where an institution began by making data more available and use that as a catalyst for broader modernization?
For sure, yeah. So we have seen multiple examples, but one I could quote is like a global financial institution, in this age of paying claims or processing mortgage loans and all of these at a much faster pace and like real-time approvals here. Uh, the lack of having that quick decisioning and fraud detection is something that's going to slow down their entire journey from in the customer acquisition, right, to provision the loan or process the claims here. So in this process here, providing that access to data in APIs and exposing the data from the mainframe here provides the ability to do a fraud detection, AML, checks, these kind of things much faster when you have quicker and faster access to data. So that is something that we have noticed one of our global financial clients succeed in the fraud detection by accessing and harnessing this data at a much faster pace here.
Thank you, KK. Deepak, would you share an example, please?
Absolutely. So I work with one of the largest health insurance client, right? And we move the data first into the on-prem environment and then to the cloud environment, right? And that whole journey gave the client a perspective that yes, they can buy a COTS product outside from the market, right? Because now they have the data. So think about it. It's not just about the application modernization. It's also rethinking of few of your workloads can be replaced by a COTS product. And the reason is because now you have the data out of your mainframes. So in that manner, the journey was very smooth, right? It was quick because we replaced the workloads with the COTS product, and again, the better customer experience, right? For the healthcare industry, that matters a lot.
And David, you got to get something ready in order to get there, right?
Well, absolutely. So, I mean, we've just talked about a number of different areas. All of our clients in virtually every industry have been pulling data from numerous source systems, creating data lakes, and huge data repositories. But one of the issues that we all face is the need to clean and scrub this data. We talk about it. It's only as good as the source systems. I mean, it's the inverted pyramid. We're taking from multiple and bring it. You can't see my hand signs in this. From multiple sources down to one single source, but you've got to go through the painful process of scrubbing it in order to make it more usable by all these cool new features we want. If you want to use AI and step into bigger and better and faster data analytics, your data's got to be in good shape. And we find that that's another area where we've neglected the data cleansing over a number of years in order to get it, and we've got very specialized but very slow processes after the ETLs are done to actually create the reports or give everyone access to the data. And if they don't know the data, then they're struggling because it hasn't been scrubbed. So that data cleansing is absolutely foundational to all the future looking and the next things we want to do with it.
Yes, quality over quantity. And let me, David, continue on that path. And that leads into a really important question as to, why do AI and advanced analytics require that modern infrastructure to succeed?
Well, Deepak was hinting at it there. I mean, the more you have and the faster you want to be with your analytics and things, you need more power to go through it. I mean, storage is not the issue; it's the analysis components of it, right? And how do you break it down, and how do you mine that for gold, right? That data, as he said, is the gold. So you need a lot of processing power for that. We also wind up doing a lot of visualization, right? It's not just the old-fashioned graphs that we all did in Excel. There are some very, very complex visualization tools that everyone wants to use for dashboards and for customer service type of activities. It requires an awful lot of power. So that modern infrastructure, you need a lot of the tools that, I mean, to be honest, they came with the clouds, right? As the hyperscalers developed these, sure, we still have the, I won't mention names, but there's all the reporting tools that we've all known for years, but so many of them are intrinsically tied to whatever hyperscaler you're using, and their tools that if you're not on those cloud infrastructures, if you're not using their tools, all collaboratively joined together to create an ecosystem that not only cleans it, analyzes it, but also secures it, then you're really not able to take advantage of the data you've got. And if I look at any one of our clients in pick an industry, health, insurance, banking, what have you, they have massive amounts of data, but they're probably just scratching the surface as to how to use it for their own revenue generation and their customer experience and their customer services.
And that's a really good backdrop, David, and some interesting insights over there. And Deepak, let's contextualize this a bit for audience now and dig into what a data-first approach in mainframe modernization really is.
Absolutely. So in the mainframes, right, we have primarily two components, and where all the companies they are worried about. One is your programming language, that is COBOL, Natural, PLI, right? All those CAGen, COBOL, and all those things, right? And another one is your data. Now, data can be on DB2, IMSDB, right? It can be on ADABAS, it can be on files, tape files, VSM files, and all those things, right? So what we say is the data first approach is, yes, your programming language is important, right? We are not denying the fact. But many companies, they do hesitate to do the modernization because they don't have a clear picture how these programming languages will convert into a new tech stack. I understand that. But our approach is, let's have the data first coming out of mainframes onto their newer environment, right? And again, it's a phased approach in the sense you take the initial load of all your data, convert into from AppSedic to ASCII or files to the storage buckets and all those things. You get your data out first from your mainframes, right, onto the newer environment, and have your replication done, right? So that you have the real-time data being updated in mainframes should be available onto the cloud environment as well, or to the on-prem. That means now you have apples to apples. Now think about it. Once you have the real-time data or the near real-time data available onto the cloud environment, you can convert your 30 to 70 screens. Now, again, Derek, who wants to work, Gen Zs or millennials, who wants to work on those black screens, right? Or the green screens? Nobody, right? They want a user interface which they can interact efficiently. Now, everything is related to data. You need not to worry about your programming language, and you are getting your business value in a fast-paced manner because you have the data available. And that is also near real time, right? And then slowly and steadily, you think about your interfaces. Get your programming languages converted to the microservices onto the cloud environment. Again, why? Because you have data. So that's the data first approach comes into picture. A risk-free approach, a business value up front, right? Customer experience up front. That's how we call it as the mainframe modernization.
It's the quick win with the data before you
Yeah.
dive into the actual modernization of your applications.
And the funny thing is, it's sitting there right under the hood too,
Yeah.
which is the irony of a lot of this. And KK, I think once we get under the hood and core systems are modernized and data is kind of freed, what new business capabilities emerge?
It's unlimited. The potential is there for you to harness the data and gain insights that could help with product development. You can do deeper dives on which product has been sold more in the past and what type of a product and demographic that you can create your new product development and target. So that customer segmentation and driving the insights and leveraging the data is definitely one that's possible here, like in addition to the market segmentation and targeted customer base and improving that product growth there is also other things that you can do in terms of improving the customer experience as well, right? So that is one more layer that you can again, like David and Deepak touched upon, how you can have good data quality and governance, and that underlying fundamentals are set up straight. Then you can harness the power of the data using the more modern AI solutions that we can have and improve the customer experience. One example I can give is, like, we are experimenting with one of our client on how we can improve the customer experience by tapping into the conversation a customer is having with our service agent and see how we can preempt the answer and reduce the average the time to handle that question or the request from the customer, right? So these are things that are possible with the potential of having that real-time data access and a good quality data that you can extract and use it here.
It's very interesting because when you talk about time, time is value. I mean, I think that's really important to highlight for every organization. It's time to do different things, to innovate, to get forward. And I think there are opportunities here for organizations to take stock of where they are along this journey and to evaluate where they're headed. Deepak, I'd like to ask you this question, and David, feel free to tag in as well. Deepak, would you share a success story where unlocking data through modernization kind of directly led to AI-driven impact or innovation?
Absolutely right. So again, from the anything related to the post modernization, right, is tied back to the customer experience period, right? So once we have moved out the mainframe data to the cloud environment, and so now we have the data over there from the mainframes. But again, from the customer perspective, the data can be from anywhere as well. But now we have the central repository or an area which shares the common infrastructure, right? Now we can have the AI components, AI tools on top of it. Let me give you an example, right? We created a tool called as Ask Data. The name says ask data, right? So once we have modernized the mainframe applications, we have this tool on top of it where it asks you your data, that you can have the natural level processing, or any kind of like English languages. You can ask your data, right? And it gives you the insight of that, right? Not only that, you can have other AI tools for observability, right? For analytics. So I would say sky is the limit once you have the data available and you have the AI driven approach to ask your data what it looks like.
Excellent. David, we got a question from the audience, and we always love questions from the audience. And if you have any, feel free to drop them in the chat. We'd love to engage. This one's from Balaji. What metrics and early wins should organizations target first to prove ROI on a data-first mainframe modernization initiative?
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there in that question. Let me just reset the level here. When we've been talking about mainframe modernization, and in particular data, the data is absolutely something we advocate moving to a modern tech stack. It can be on-prem, but cloud is typically where you go. But you don't have to necessarily go there with your mainframes. There is absolutely a number of legitimate strategies where you would not move your mainframes to the cloud. If that's your strategy, great, not a problem. But for those who are saying that's not what I want to do, you can still do the data first approach while keeping your mainframes and the mainframe applications. With that being said, obviously, yeah, you're looking for quick wins. So the first part is you can even take sub-segments of your data. You're not going to do it all at once, but come up with a couple of specific objectives of what you want. If I had the data and I could do X with it using these tools, what would I want? And work backwards from a business objective that gets you an ROI to go, what data elements do I need or segments do I need? And let's move that into a cloud situation. And really, there's not a lot of transformation necessarily of the data itself. It's as much an extraction, and Deepak will tell me if I'm absolutely wrong on that. But once you've got it moved over, it's applying the tools to it, right? So moving a segment or a chunk of your data into the cloud that can then be used. I mean, it could be a small proof of concept, but you're right. You want to find the metrics. I can't say a specific metric because it depends what your objective is. Like it's not a one size fits all approach, but pick a couple of things that you can do that would show a return of value, move that data, interrogate that data with these new tools, and then execute on that use case or two to show those first quick wins. And now you can go back and look at bigger parts or bigger initiatives that are all tied to that now that you've proven that it works.
That makes great common sense, and it's a fairly structured approach as well. And there's a lot of insight in there and some value too. Another question from the audience we love to have. Thank you, Suresh, for this next one. And KK, I'll come to you first, and then maybe Deepak, we can have you compliment or tag in afterwards. So KK, do you have any products to migrate the data from mainframe to cloud?
For sure, yeah. So with CGI, we started this journey maybe about 15 years back and helped multiple customers across Europe and North America and migrating off the mainframe, more into on-prem solutions back then, and now towards cloud implementations as well. So during this term, at the beginning of this journey, it was all a lot of manual effort was there, but then along the process, we built a few of the tools. So one is the CGI Reframe. That's a suite of mainframe accelerators that we have built that helps us in one, understanding the current landscape within the mainframe and identifying the obsolete elements that have never been used over the past 6 years, 15 years of your journey that was implemented back in the early 70s, and you never needed it, but you never knew what is needed, no longer needed. And those kind of diagnostic tools are there. It's part of the Reframe solution, but we also have automated conversion tools also within the Reframe suite that helps you migrate a particular code base. In addition to that, we also have another product which Deepak can expand a little more, is the Instacode, which again, you can convert an assembler routine into COBOL, or like a COBOL into C#, all of those ones as well. So these are things that we have helped in migrating a customer's code as well as data in a much faster pace. And I think Deepak can probably mention about the current implementation we are using Instacode. Over to you, Deepak.
And let me interrupt
Thank
for
you,
a second before it goes to Deepak. There's also I want to make sure he talks about this. Is the tools he's got to create new screens, as he said, getting rid of those green screens.
Right.
There's tools to do that, and that's actually I would say that's one of the quick wins you look for, is to be able to show a modern interface to the data that you've moved. I'll let you go for that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, David. Thanks, KK. So Suresh, to answer your question, right? Data, code, and screens. So I will tackle three things together. Okay. So KK talked about, on the data perspective, we have the reframe tool, right, which does the analysis and the data migration as well. But at the same time, we built the spatial utilities also for the client. Okay. Because the traffic is not just one-way traffic. It is not always from mainframes to the cloud or mainframes to the on-prem. It will be, for quite some time, for 5 to 6 years down the line, right? It will be a back feed as well. That means the or the cloud data coming back to the mainframes, because we are not there yet to decommission our whole of the mainframe system, right? So the products absolutely for the one-way traffic from mainframes to the cloud, and then we build spatial utilities to create the backfeed process. That is one thing. The second thing is on the programming languages. We have our Insta code, and we have and we can have more sessions on that as well. We have the X converter in the Insta code, which can convert from any language to any language, right? Again, accelerating your journey for the legacy modernization or the mainframe modernization. And the third one is a very kind of a unique product, wherein you convert your green screens, right, into the modern tech stack within minutes, which can take weeks by a human developer. Again, AI coming into picture to help all these journey from the legacy to the cloud migration. So when these three things come together within accelerator, your journey becomes small, right? Your journey becomes risk-free. That is the most important part.
Okay, got another question from the audience, and we got a third one, and we love questions from the audience. This one's from Maurizio. The question is, what about communities? I think this is kind of interesting. Is there, or are there any initiatives inside CGI in order to gather professionals around something like a mainframe modernization community? KK.
Yeah, for sure, Derek. So we're doing it in multiple fronts. So it's not just the professional community alone that needs to be educated of this and enlightened of this, right? So we are doing almost a roadshow with multiple stakeholders here, like at the CXO levels. We are meeting with them and sharing customer success stories, like, the CXOs who have done this. We are bringing them to meet with the CXOs who are considering it, and like we've had that kind of a customer reference calls to see how this kind of initiative can happen, and how each other learn from others' mistakes and what the pitfalls they can avoid, right? So that is at that level we are having. In addition to that, like, I'll give an example. Deepak had recently participated in an AWS conference on a mainframe modernization day. So this is one more thing that CGI is participating and disseminating this information, sharing with both customers as well as our internal and external stakeholders as well.
Okay, moving along. And I think when we talk about the road ahead, and I think where we're looking down the road now, we definitely want to paint a picture here for audience. And David, I'll start with you. Help me to paint this picture. What does a truly modern data-first financial services organization look like?
Yeah. Well, I think it's more than just being data first. That's part of it. I mean, that's an approach that you take, that we will be data first, doing decisioning. We will make informed decisions. But I think what's underneath that is probably the more important piece, and that's putting together the appropriate, I'll say, infrastructure. But it's better yet, foundation, right? So if you have those foundations in place where you have right-sized your mainframe, you have moved your data to the cloud, you may or may not be moving everything else to the cloud, you've begun to rationalize and review your existing infrastructure of applications, what applications are, as KK said, are you actually using? Do you have chunks of data that are being used to generate reports that nobody uses? If you've got all of those going and you're starting to rewrite and reframe your applications themselves or refactor them, it's all the above. If you're now breaking them down, you are now microservices focused. Yes, I know it's a bit of a cliche, but that is the approach. If you've got microservices, if you have all of the appropriate tools, if you are breaking it down to digitize and automate as much as possible in whatever core systems you're dealing with in order to feed your business objectives of customer experience, of revenue generation, of cost reductions, that's what you look like. You have to have, it's a battle on multiple fronts to truly have a modern approach and modernize all of these pieces. And again, that could be just one line of business, but generally you need to have everyone in alignment from an enterprise perspective, all going in the same direction, all believing in all of these activities, recognizing that we have to spend money in order to actually realize the value. That's what a forward-looking company looks like. And most likely, that's completely a data-first approach.
And David, it sounds like for most of the challenges, there's no tangible right in front of me, green light, go, as opposed to it's there, but we can't really see it. We know it's there. Is that one of the biggest challenges for executives?
When you get to the C-suite, they're looking for generate revenue and cut costs. That's pretty straightforward. But it's the layers right below them who are usually the ones going, I can see the different tactical steps that we have to take to achieve what the boss is looking for. I think a lot of it you can see, but it looks like a lot of work, right? And you talk about technical debt, that's fine. I want to get rid of it. You don't want to be adding to it, but there's, as we've talked about throughout this, there's that aversion to risk. There can be budgetary, reasons that hold you back, that it's too easy to get lost in the forest, and not see where you're going. Can you see the thing at the top? Sure. And there are absolutely the ones that are obvious, but there's a lot more than, the one that stands out. Sorry, that was a bit of a rambler, but
no, it's interesting because it calls to perspective, and it calls to, at some point somebody got to make decisions at sometimes where the path isn't necessarily as clear, but it is in many ways. And seeing is believing, but sometimes the seeing part's going to come a little later on down the road. Deepak, you got some perspective on that too.
Yeah, just to add one thing, right? Leadership, yes, everybody wants that. Okay, what at the end of the day, what I'm getting, right? I'm spending too much amount of money on the legacy modernization, what I'm getting. But think about it, you can fund your legacy modernization by doing the legacy modernization, right? That means as and when you are moving your workloads away from your mainframes to the cloud environment as a pay-as-you-go model, you are saving your MIPS. Maybe you are not paying any licensing cost to certain tools, which you are paying right now on mainframes because everything is modernized now. So you are funding your modernization by yourself by decommissioning your workloads and going to the cloud environment. So it's an eye opener when I was talking to one of our clients, right? You need not to pay upfront, right? Or down the line, you will get that what we call as an inorganic revenue, which you will say that yes, I have paid myself, right? From decommissioning the mainframes into the cloud environment, it's already paid. The revenue is already there. Right? It's of no cost to me. So,
okay, got another question from the audience. I believe the name is pronounced Riddick. David, question for you: does taking a data-first approach to mainframe modernization pose any data privacy risks?
Well, it certainly shouldn't. You have that risk today. We're advocating the notion of moving it into a place where you can more readily use it. You have it. Hopefully you have all the permissions in place, but it's still, you're taking a secure approach to it. Everything's encrypted in flight. You have access controls in place. no one that is you only are allowed to access the data that you need for business purposes, all of those sorts of things. So you mitigate a lot of the risks by putting the controls in place and the data governance components that you have in place. So we've certainly seen that. So the move itself, in terms of taking a data first, it's an approach that is to extract value from the data you have today. The overall move to the cloud, I think everyone's familiar with that, and we've been doing that for close to a decade now. Everybody understands that there is a different type of risk, but it's not any more than what you have today. And I'll just stop because I think Deepak's probably got another viewpoint on this. As long as you have the governance in place, you're not adding new risk. But if you've got those controls, you're continuing to mitigate those privacy concerns, which, I mean, that never goes away. We have them today. We had them last year. We'll have them next year.
No, absolutely right. Absolutely. See, on the mainframes, how much security protocols you have, right? RACF or any other common security protocols. But nowadays, with all these cyber threats, hackers, and all those things comes into picture, right? We have more and more vulnerability scans and the data protection available onto their newer environment. So think about it. Your data was residing in mainframes for decades with the risk of being hacked by somebody, right? Or the data privacy issues. But once you move it to the cloud environment or to the on-prem, right? It will be like encryption and transit and the rest and all those stuff, right? Your data is more protective over there with all these new tools, new security vulnerability scans, and all those stuff. So I would say it is mitigating the risk of getting from the mainframes to the cloud environment.
Okay. Another question from Paul. KK, if you'd like to take a crack at this one, it's on deck for you. What does infrastructure need to support a modern financial services organization, and how can individuals make sure it stays flexible as data and regulations change?
I think it ties back to the previous question, right? Like the infrastructure needs to have the security first and foremost here. The more we expose the data to internal and external customers, the privacy of that is of utmost importance here. So with that, any infrastructure we are setting up, whether it's on-prem or your cloud implementation, the focus has to be on the data quality as well as the data privacy, the security that we can install before you start exposing the data to internal and external customers. So that's the first and foremost I would recommend to have that security layer built on before providing that access to the data to internal and external customers here. And Deepak, if you want to add more to that.
Yeah, no, I like the comment on flexible enough to evolve with the changing data and regulatory demands, right? Again, think about it. How much effort is needed if something got changed in your mainframes and you need to change hundreds of modules, right? And you don't know, first of all, where do you need to change? Again, if you are a financial institution, you have a bank account ID of 10 digits, and you need to convert into 15 digits. It's a nightmare to know how many modules I need to change over there. But again, once you have it over here in the cloud environment or on the on-prem, it will become easy, right? Easy to understand the data, easy to change the data, right? And all these regulatory demands, the speed to market is much faster with all your DevOps pipeline, again, which is not there in your mainframes, right? All the DevOps pipeline or all your change management stuff, those things are so fast into the modern tech stack that all these regulatory demands will be met in a fast-paced manner than in your mainframes.
David, last word on that question?
Yeah. To me, if I go to the holistic view of the infrastructure, to me, I'm looking at two things. I'm looking at what's the orchestration layer involved, because we need the adapters or interfaces to be able to go between these various systems. Part of the challenge and the fear of touching cores is that they're connected to so many applications and systems. So from an orchestration layer perspective, I need to be able to do the adapters that connect. I need to be able to do transformation. Obviously, there's lots of storage involved. I need to be able to support concurrent users. I've got to be able to create all of the canned reports for every area required, and then have business analysts from different product areas and other parts of the company being able to do ad hoc, queries and extracting data. And then, of course, as was mentioned, the regulatory side. Well, the regulatory, it's changing, but they tend to be, you have noticed that they're coming. So a lot of it is reporting, absolutely everything with audit. So as part of the orchestration layer, you've also got a log of everything that happens to the data. Who touches it? Who looked at it? Where did it come from? What have we done to it? How have we enriched it in any way? So to me, that's the layer of infrastructure that it's not rocket science. It's fairly straightforward, but it's just got to be extremely well thought out. But it's readily available from applications you can buy to those provided by the hyperscalers.
Okay, one final question from the audience from Nishad. Have you seen success stories where Blue Age or similar automated refactoring tools were paired with data governance platforms during a mainframe offloading, and what were the key lessons learned?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. See, again, there are multiple tools available in the market. One is Blue Age, another one is multiple partners are there, right? So we need to assess what is the best tool available in the market for that particular problem statement. Again, when we are talking about mainframes, every mainframe is different for every other client. That's what our lessons learned, right? There is no one size fits for all, right? We need to analyze each and every aspect of their mainframe infrastructure, of their data, which KK talked about it, our reframe tool. And then only we will decide, do we need to go to the Blue Age, or shall we go to another tool? Shall we build a utility for the client, which will be there for life for them? So it all depends on what exactly they have in their infrastructure. So lesson learned is, do not just deep dive or bombard with the tools. First analyze it and then go for a best solution available in the market or build it for the clients.
Thank you very much. One final question. I'd like to tag everybody in on this question because I think we're going to go into crystal ball mode, and I really want to get some of your perspective on what's one bold prediction or key piece of advice for any organization starting their modernization journey, especially if they want to lead with data. KK, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so it's not the invincible. We have done it. We have seen customers do it on their own. We have seen customers do it with other partners. So, ultimately, the approach that you take is what matters whoever you're partnering with. Start small, and then but start now. This is not something that can wait or should have to wait. Like, there's no need for waiting for another magic pill here to solve this problem for us here. So we have enough accelerators within hyperscalers, within CGI, within your own organizations that you can leverage. The available AI models. What we took, 2 years to complete a project in the past, we believe with the advent of these technologies, we can actually accelerate it and complete it in 12 to 18 months. So that's the pace of tools and accelerators that we are seeing that's going to help modernize. So start small, but start now, and focus on data accessibility first. So that's my advice here.
Very good. Deepak.
Yeah, absolutely, KK, you're spot on, right? Somebody has to start right away and stop thinking that, yes, I can live with the mainframe environment or the infrastructure for life. That's not possible, right? You need to start, and the main important part is you need to start as a risk-free approach. And the risk-free approach is on the data first approach, right? You have the data, you start small, do the pilot, and scale up. As I was telling about the weighing scale stuff, right? You scale up, start small, have your business, and you will see the business value right up front, right? It's an inorganic growth, right? But leading to your organic growth. So,
David.
Well, you asked for a bold prediction, so
yes.
I'll go there because I like to follow the instructions. My prediction is we'll be doing mainframe modernization for the next decade. And by that, because it's a phased approach, and I'm not talking just us as CGI, I mean, any of our industries, there are so many elements to it. And there's just so many phases that you have to break it down to mitigate the risks and to achieve objectives. And let's the reality is resources and budgets. So to everyone watching, you're not alone. You're on a unique journey that may be somewhat similar, but rarely exactly like another of your peer group. And collectively, we're going to be doing this for the next 10 years.
Well, we better buckle up, I guess. It's going to be a bit of a journey. I appreciate all of the insights and the time you've shared here today with us. Much appreciated. And of course, for more on today's topic, accelerating mainframe modernization with a data-first approach, grab out your cell phone and scan the QR code on the screen for more information. There you go. Wonderful. For the panel and our talented production crew behind the scenes, I'm Derek Marinos. Thank you for joining us today, and we'll be with you in September at our next event where we take a closer look at AI and health. Bye for now.